Welcome to the Leverage Show, how to optimize your business and your life. Remember to email business questions and challenges to me at questions@leverageshow.com, and I'll answer them on future episodes. So today, I want to share with you 3 things that the Rio Olympics can teach us about business. You know, there are a lot of parallels between sort of non-business things, pop culture things, sporting events, media, any other sort of outlet out there, and business. There are a lot of parallels. There are a lot of lessons that we can learn. And, that lesson in and of itself is really important to realize that, you can learn things about your business. You can learn things about what you're doing from just about anyone, anywhere. It doesn't have to be a business expert in order to be able to teach you things if you're looking and you have the right mindset about what you're looking at. And so the first thing that the Rio Olympics can teach us is that hard work alone doesn't get you the gold. Everybody would like to believe that if you put in the time, if you put in the sacrifice, if you put in the effort and you do all the things right, you're basically guaranteed victory. You can will yourself to victory. And there's an element of truth to that in the sense that you can certainly achieve far more than you would have without it. If you don't put in the work, if you don't put in the effort and the time and the sacrifice, you can be assured that your results are not going to be as good. But even if you put all that stuff in, it doesn't mean that you're going to be standing on the top podium at the end of the day. It just doesn't. The fact of the matter is, as much as we want to believe and as much as we're told all the time that everybody's, equal, and it's really not true. We may have an equal chance, but we have different body chemistry. We have different, physical makeup. We have different things and attributes that allow us to be more or less successful at different things. So, for example, if I want to be a center and I want to play basketball, being, just about 6 feet tall, it really doesn't matter how good of a basketball player I am. I'm not going to be a center because you physically need to be closer to 7 feet. It just is a reality of it. I can train as much as I want. I can work as hard as I want. I can visualize and I can do all these other things, at an elite level. And I'm still never going to be that. It just is what it is. There are going to be people that are better. And, you see that in a lot of the events. I mean, you see that, whether it's the 100-meter dash, you have Usain Bolt who wins it again. And Gatling is a phenomenal athlete, phenomenal runner. He did the best he could. He's a silver medalist. I mean, it wasn't going to be there for him no matter how hard he trained. And there are a lot of different events and a lot of different elements that are exactly the same thing. Look, in business, you could work your tail off, and if you want to build, whatever it is, an electronics company, it doesn't mean that you're going to be better than Apple. It just doesn't. I mean, they may still be bigger than you. But there's a consolation with that as well. But the fact of it is, hard work alone and dedication will definitely get you better results than you would have gotten without it. But it's important to understand that your natural inclinations and your other abilities and traits are going to also make the difference. And it isn't just going to be physically how hard you work that determines your level of success. The second thing that we can learn from the Rio Olympics is that you need to be able to adapt in order to succeed. We see this a lot of times where somebody is very good in one given scenario. Under one given set of conditions, they can succeed and they can be successful. And that's fantastic. But life tells us, life teaches us that the only constant is change. Things are going to change. Things are going to, become different and be dynamic on us. And we saw this in the diving competition in, the fact that they were dealing with an outdoor pool with wind gusts up to 30 and 40 miles an hour. Now, that is not standard conditions for diving, especially for someone who trains indoor for diving. They're used to very calm conditions. And so we get out there on the springboard diving, and what we find is that Olympic champions, world champions, are struggling to even make the cut to move on beyond the semifinals because the wind is playing mental games with them. They're not prepared. They're not able to make that adjustment. Now, conversely, some of the athletes who probably weren't as gifted physically, they probably weren't as highly ranked, went out there and scored really well. And when they were asked at the end of it, how did you do so well when everybody else seemed to struggle in the wind and the terrible conditions? And their answer was, we trained for this. We went and we trained outdoor in the wind. And so when we got here, we were able to adapt to the conditions. We didn't get focused on the wind. We were able to do what we're supposed to do. And we were able to account for the fact that conditions were going to be a little bit different and that, the diving was going to be a little different because we had experienced it. We had done it already before. And that is a really important lesson because in business, it's the same thing. You may be able to succeed with today's rules and today's environment and today's competitors. But what happens in a year when a new competitor enters the market? Or there are new, rules and regulations imposed on your industry, or, the economy turns on its head, or whatever it is. Are you adaptable enough to be able to make those changes, to be able to survive? You can't be so ingrained in what you're doing that you're unable to make those changes. And the third thing that we can learn is that, at the end of the day, third place, they still get a medal. It might be the bronze, it might not be the color that they really want, but third place still gets a medal. And, there's a lot of conventional wisdom in business that second place sucks. Second place is for the losers and all this other stuff, and it's nonsense. The fact of the matter is, if you're second place to an $8 billion firm, maybe that's not so bad. You could still shoot for number one, but at the end of the day, you're still going to have a massively successful business. You're still going to be doing great. And so there's still a payoff, and I think that's the most important takeaway there is it's easy to look at anybody who ended up with a bronze medal or maybe didn't even medal as well. Was it really worth the sacrifice? Was it worth the 4 years they put in? Was it worth giving up parties and time with friends and the food they want to eat and pop culture and movies and music to focus single-mindedly on this one goal for that amount of time? And some people would say, no, it isn't worth it. They didn't win. So it was a waste of time. But I think that it all depends on how you look at it. I think that depending on your attitude, depending on your perspective, even if you came in fourth place, as painful as that is, there's a lesson to be learned from that as well. And there's value in that as well. You still made it to the Olympic stage, which 99% of athletes never make it to. That in and of itself is a major accomplishment. You still were able to compete against the best. You still have developed a narrative and a story in your life that now you can tell. Tell to your kids, tell to future generations, tell in the business world. Those are all awesome stories that you can then go out and be able to share. It's life experience. It's something that you got an opportunity to do that chances are in most events, if you didn't do when you were young, you'll never get a chance to do that again. And if you are young, what difference does it make? A few years of your life, is going to go by in an eye blink anyway. And instead of looking back and thinking, what if? You gave it your all. You did everything that you possibly could do. Okay, so you didn't win. But at the end of the day, you competed. You got up there with the best. You competed and you proved to yourself that you have what it takes to find a dream, focus on that dream, follow through, execute, and ultimately, accomplish the one goal of being able to compete at the highest level. And there's value in that. There's value in that. You know, so in business, as much as we want to be number one, and as much as we want to dominate our market space and we want to do this and do that, revel in your successes too. You know, it isn't all about the destination. It is about the process. It is about the growth. It is about the maturation and the learning that you're going to do along the way. You develop a lot as a person through the process of building your business, through the process of evolving, you know, your business. You evolve yourself as an entrepreneur and as a human being. And there's value in that, you know, even if you don't always get exactly what you want in terms of what you set out to do. And so it's important that we take hold of that as well, and that we stay focused on that too. Because, you know, there's a lot of parallels that we can draw between the Olympics and our business lives. And there are a lot of important lessons that we can learn from both. So remember to email your questions and challenges to me at questions@leverageshow.com so I can answer them on future episodes. And until next time, make it happen.